Welcome back to Pie and the Pound. A few months ago, I published a research paper titled A Behavioral Economics Review of Aspirations and Perceived Economic Mobility in Southern Mexico. If you read the abstract, the premise is fairly straightforward. For decades, Mexico has used conditional cash transfers, programs like Progresa and Prospera, to alleviate poverty. And objectively, they worked. School attendance went up and health improved. But in southern states like Chiapas and Oaxaca, a southern paradox emerged. The human capital increased, but the income gap actually widened. In my paper, I argued that we were ignoring internal constraints. Specifically, I looked at Debraj Rai's concept of the aspiration window, the idea that if the gap between where you currently are and where you want to be is too large, you don't work harder. You actually experience an aspirations failure. But here is why I wanted to record this episode today. The more I've studied since publishing that paper, the more I realized my methodology had a significant blind spot. Today, I want to do a post-mortem on my own research and talk about the econometric nightmare of measuring hope. In the paper, I proposed analyzing data from the Mexican Family Life Survey, or the MxFLS, to show the disconnect between objective human capital and subjective perceived mobility. But if I were to present this paper to University Economics Department today, they would immediately hit me with one word: endogeneity. Specifically, reverse causality. Think about it. If I run a regression and find a strong correlation between low perceived mobility and a household remaining in a poverty trap, the data alone cannot tell me the direction of causality. Did the low aspirations cause the poverty trap? Or did the crushing structural reality of the poverty trap destroy the aspirations? Because I was relying on cross-sectional survey data, I couldn't definitively isolate that causal direction. If I were to rewrite that paper now, I would realize that to truly prove the behavioral trap, I couldn't just rely on a snapshot. I would need an instrumental variable. For example, I would need to exploit the randomized staggered rollout of the original Progresa pilot villages in the late 90s. By using a village's random assignment as an instrument, I could isolate the exogenous shock of the cash transfer from the pre-existing poverty levels. And that is the only way to actually see the causal direction of the aspirations. And this methodological flaw actually led me to a much deeper policy question regarding how we give out this money. Mexico's programs are conditional. Mothers only get the cash if they meet strict requirements like 85% school attendance and mandatory health clinic visits. When I wrote the paper, I looked at how the structure might unintentionally perpetuate a behavioral trap. But I want to take that a step further today, using the framework of cognitive load developed by behavioral economists Sendhil Mullainathan and Elder Shafir. They proved that poverty imposes a literal bandwidth tax on the brain. So put yourself in the shoes of a mother in rural Oaxaca. By attaching strict bureaucratic conditions to a financial survival, are policymakers accidentally increasing her cognitive load? If we were to look at time use survey data, actually measuring the hours spent traveling to clinics, standing in lines, or navigating compliance, we might see the true cost. The mental energy required to prove that compliance might be consuming the exact psychological bandwidth she needs to make long-term economic decisions. The ultimate irony of the southern paradox might be that in our attempt to force human capital development through strict conditions, we're taxing the psychological agency of the exact people we're trying to help. Publishing that paper was a great first step, but realizing its limitations has completely completely changed how I look at development economics. It is not enough to just identify a behavioral bias. We have to build econometric models rigorous enough to prove it casually, and policy frameworks empathetic enough to account for cognitive bandwidth. Thanks for listening to this post-mortem. I've linked the original paper along with some of the new literature on cognitive load in the show notes. Until next time, keep questioning the models.